All set? Good afternoon and welcome to this council meeting for the municipality of Dutton Dunwich. It is September 25th, 2024. It is 5 p.m. and I will call this meeting to order. Clerk Tara, if you would get us started, please.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Drouillard, that the meeting of the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich opens at 5 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. I would remind council of any declaration of pecuniary interest. See none. The adoption of the draft minutes from September 11th, 2024, they were included in your agenda package. Are there any errors or omissions? Okay, I see none. The minutes will be adopted as presented to council in their agenda package. Clerk Tara, are there any items not listed on the agenda?
We do have 3 items to add under unfinished business. The first one being a verbal update from the CAO treasurer for the wastewater collection system. A verbal update from myself, Deputy Mayor Loveland, and Councillor Pemberton on the doctor's agreement, and a motion to approve the shared planning services from the County of Elgin in principle. We did talk about it last time, but the county would like a resolution from us.
Okay, thank you. Number 5 on the agenda, we do have a delegation, and it's the West Elgin Daffodil Auxiliary Welfare Society. And I don't know whose wishes to speak to it, or everyone, please. Okay. Yep, we have George, Donna. Yep, please. And Diane, you're involved because of the senior center, which is.
Yeah, that's different. Coming up, George.
Yep.
So I don't know if you wanna, they can take, I've just got some flyers and a business card to pass around to everybody if you don't have our contact information. And I need my specs to be able to read this print. So can I just go ahead and get started?
The floor is yours.
Okay, so George Smith, Linda McCann, and myself, volunteers at West Elgin Daffodil Auxiliary. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity coming speaking to you today. As you know, West Elgin Daffodil Auxiliary operates as our local food bank in Dutton and has been established in the municipality since 1956. Operating mostly out of 185 Curry in town, and we service many families throughout the area on a monthly basis, as well as giving out Christmas hampers with that special program. So the dwelling at 185 Curry was sold by the municipality to our current landlord. Conditions of that sale at that time were that we could remain at the food bank for the 5 years at a set amount of rent, and that has been going along well. Our rental agreement is now ending at the end of May of 2025. So that time's fast approaching, and we need help with making plans moving forward. So while last week there was, we've been in contact with our landlord over the past few years, talking about when this time comes, what could we do? Could we stay? And what rent and all that kind of stuff. So we were in communication and talking about that up until last week. We've also outgrown the location that we're at, and we sometimes have been allowed to spill into the senior side, and Diane and them have helped us with that. So we have been in search of new locations like ourselves, just trying to figure out within the municipality, but we have not been successful in finding anything ourselves. We're here today to ask council for assistance in finding a new location, as our food bank is a vital part of the services here held within our community. So up until today, there was the possibility of remaining at our location, and the rent, of course, would change, and we were in negotiation and that. But I did receive a text message from our landlord this morning while at work saying that is no longer an option and that they will be ceasing our lease agreement and following through with it being done the end of May. So now I'm kind of in a panic because that hadn't been on the table up until today. So 8 months, we are now in a desperate search for a new spot. So with that in mind, we just were wondering, and I had spoken to Councillor Dreyfus and also Councillor Loveland and also to you, Mayor, in the passing, year and whatnot about anything that we could, do within the municipality. So wondering if there's any empty parcels of land or something that couldn't be used as residential that we could maybe put up portable, or trying to think outside the box here, creating space where there isn't really any. We'd like to stay within Dutton because the majority of our clients, or not majority, we're probably equal between Dutton and West Lorne. Anyway, so a portable idea. Basically, we don't need a lot, just like, you know, the space and a washroom, and, you know, be able to plug in our freezers and coolers. Obviously, we're willing to fundraise, and up until now, we haven't really had anything to put out in the community to say, hey, help us, because we're moving, because we didn't have anything. So now that we know that we've got to move and we've got to do some stuff, then we're looking for help. So in light of that new information that we received this morning, I know you can't come with a decision within the 15 minutes and whatnot that we have today, but whether we could set up a future meeting with, you know, like a subcommittee that could maybe meet with us and help us move forward with what we need to secure for the next few months.
Okay. I'm going to open this up, and economic development, which is very successful under Councillor Dreyfus. Do you have any comments? Can we assist in any way with your committee?
Thank you for your presentation, and I know it's been on the top of your mind for at least a couple of years, and then today's text message, you know, of termination of your lease agreement. I'm well aware of the situation, and I'm hoping that we can come to some sort of resolution and salvage the situation so we can maybe work together. So I'm hoping we can come to that point. I would recommend to council that we do initiate a subcommittee, and I'd be willing to sit on that committee and try to work with the Daffodil Auxiliary in finding a location, and maybe looking at other options that maybe we can figure out how we can work this thing out together. So that would be my recommendation to council. And if there's another councillor that would like to join me in that approach, I think that's the best way to handle this, to be honest with you. So.
Because we are now under the wire.
Yes.
Like 8 months is a pretty quick turnaround to find a new spot.
It's near to impossible with sort of the situations that buildings we have available in Dutton, I'm thinking outside the box as well, and what are our solutions. So I think we need to sit down and work diligently to see if we can figure something out. So I'm with you on this. So
can I ask how many square feet you'd require?
Well, right now, our current look, I think I put that into the email that I sent to you, but like anywhere like 1,500 to 2,000. Right now, we're operating out of maybe 1,000, and we're just tripping over everything, and we're spilling into the senior side, especially at Christmas when we have all the extra gifts and hampers and all of that coming. But and we have been diligent in the past years when there's been a surplus of funds, because we are only allowed to carry a certain amount of money through our budget at year end, that when there's been surplus, that we've bought extra freezers, we've bought extra coolers, we've upgraded all of our shelving to industrial shelving, like the kitchen grade, and all of our bins for our food, like they're all food safe. So we've been doing that. So when there is a move, it's not going to be as financial as burden, other than obviously rent's going to be what we've been locked into since 1956 is really unrealistic in today's market. So but yeah, those are our big are there any other questions?
Anybody else?
Go
ahead.
Our clientele have also increased. When COVID hit, we had a big increase of folks needing help, and it is not downsized since then. And in fact, when I started, there was about maybe 32 hampers a month. We are now hitting 48 to 50. And for Christmas, we usually do about 80, and I'm anticipating 100 this year. And it's really, we have great support in the community. We have a lot of folks that donate,
Mm.
and staying in this area is a plus also, because we do have great support. And Dutton is known for the Daffodil Auxiliary and looking after it. And we do get support from West Lorne and all around. So we do need more space. We do need a permanent location. It would have to be accessible also for everyone.
Mhm.
So the need has not decreased.
And I say too, like our community is just like outstanding, basically. I think I've been the treasurer since 2011. Not once have I put out a flyer, to say, hey, we need help, we need donations. Like it just keeps rolling in. Like it's amazing. So we'd like for this to continue. Obviously, everyone in the community respects and thinks it's deserving to keeping rolling as well. So.
And I don't know if everyone realizes the area that we cover. We go to the International Club to Kerr Road. We go to Iona Town Line. We go right from the river all the way to the lake. So it's a big area.
We're all aware of the great work you do and have done in the past and will continue to do. So Councillor Dreyfus, I think an excellent idea. We'll try and get organized here and see what we can do. I have a question, Diane. You're caught up in the same situation with,
I didn't know anything about it. We talked about sharing.
but did you get a text or something that seniors are,
Checked about 3 o'clock.
okay,
So I will phone him and find out. He hasn't.
you haven't heard?
He phones every once in a while to tell me he's using the building, he's going to be there. And that he locked it up and all that, but he's never mentioned it to us.
Yeah, okay.
So I think this is fairly new development, obviously,
Yes.
because last week I was talking to him and this was not on the table.
Yeah, council is just being made aware of the situation. So we'll work through the problem and work towards a solution.
The problem is we don't have a location. It's not really money, it's location is what we're really,
Yeah.
as far as I know, is what
Yeah.
the big thing is tonight.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem.
Anything further from council? Oh, go ahead, Councillor Goulart.
I would happily sit with Counselor Dreyfus to work with this group of individuals and try to find a space
We have a
and
committee
a
set,
solution.
and I know they'll get to work. I know both these councillors and they'll work diligently on it.
Yeah, like you said, there's lots of options or things to consider, but yeah, you need to have a location before we can. I mean, there's probably corporations out there that might be willing to donate a portable, that might be willing to retrofit, something that
Yeah.
to help us out. And
Yeah.
there's lots out there, but can't really access anybody till we.
Is your organization available to access that type of fund? I'm thinking Green Lane or anything like that.
Well, we can access,
Okay,
like grants and whatnot, and
Yeah.
we had there's been a grants, what the community foundation, like we've got grants for the freezer, but other grants we weren't able to access because of the dollar value that we could keep in our bank account. Right? Like we're limited to a certain amount that we have to, and it's like a continual turnover. We can't, hold money. But then with that in mind and knowing that we may have to relocate, I did look into our bylaws and talk to, because we're a satellite. Like there's 2 divisions, there's a cancer division of Daffodil and then there's a food bank. So we are like one unit, but we operate separately. But finding a little bit more information, we were able to increase the amount of money that we can now hold in our bank account, knowing that we may have to do that to fundraise to move in the future. So we've increased that ceiling. So that's a good news. But yeah, it's like I said, we still need to figure out what we're doing to move forward before you can apply for any grants.
anything further?
That's it.
Thank you for attending. We got the message. We understand the urgency.
So is there gonna be a date set up that we can get together, or
Counselor Dreyfout and Counselor Drewlard will reach out to your group as soon as they can get organized on this.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, thank you for your time.
okay, thanks for coming in. We'll see you at the fair. Okay, and right on time. Next on our agenda is our planning department. And we have a committee of adjustment, which is a public meeting. So I will, let's into that. Sarah?
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Loveland, that the regular meeting end to sit as a committee of adjustment hearing to hear application file MV 04/24 filed by Ryan Vanderveen and Sasha Bailey at 5:15 PM. All in favor? And that's carried. And moved by Loveland, seconded by Drewlard, that the meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for Minor Variance Application File MV 04/24 filed by Ryan Vanderveen and Sasha Bailey opens at 5:16 PM. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, thank you. We have the previous meeting minutes from August 14th, 2024. I believe council had a chance to have a look at them. Are we all good with them? Okay, they are adopted as presented. I will call this Committee of Adjustment hearing to order. This application for a minor variance pursuant to Section 45(1) of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 as amended, is required for the following reasons. To request relief from Section 4.28 of the parking requirements, to request a reduction from the required parking for dwelling units located above commercial buildings from 2 parking spaces, 1 parking space per unit, to 0 parking spaces, as there is no space at the rear of the existing building to provide any parking. The subject lands are located at 196 Curry Road. Does any member of council have a disclosure of interest concerning the proposals? To the clerk, what method of notice and when was the notice given to the public for this meeting?
A sign was posted on the subject property prior to the September 13th, 2024 deadline, and notices were mailed to property owners within 60 meters of the subject property prior to the September 11th, 2024 deadline.
Thank you. I will now introduce our planner, Tracy, for her report.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the members of the Committee of Adjustment. So this application is a minor variance submitted by the property owner. The intent is to convert the area above the existing commercial building to create 2 new residential dwelling units. And because of that, 1 parking space per unit is required, but the building is backed up to the rear and does not provide any space for any parking. So the request is a reduction from 2 to 0. So the application was circulated 60 meters around the subject property. The report does summarize commenting agencies and department comments that have been received. 2 comments that we should note is that the County of Elgin did have some concerns that the additional residential units may create additional strain on the deficiency at the wastewater treatment plant. And the wastewater treatment operator did mention that there is limited capacity for this new additional dwelling unit. So something for the committee to take into consideration. An email was received this afternoon with respect to the application from a nearby property owner. I believe the committee has all been provided with a copy of that letter, but certainly let us know if you would like me or the clerk to read that out for the record. So the application, when you're taking into consideration minor variances, there are 4 tests that the committee should follow. The first test is that does it maintain the intent and purpose of the official plan, which it does. The official plan does encourage mixed use development. The second test is that does it maintain the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? And the answer to that is yes. Again, the zoning bylaw does allow for residential above commercial uses. The third one is the minor variance desirable for the appropriate and orderly development of the use of the land in the building? So the proposed relief doesn't change the building in any way. It does not cause any concerns with respect to privacy of abutting properties. There is additional parking actually on lands owned by this applicant on another nearby property. So there is overflow capability. The zoning bylaw doesn't take that into consideration when relief is asked, but it is a justification and a reason why you would allow for this decrease. And the fourth and final test is it minor? And the character of the area doesn't change, and the proposed relief is considered minor. So administration does recommend that the application be approved. The applicant's agent is online as well to help answer any questions at the appropriate time. And I'm available as well to answer any questions at the appropriate time. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that report, Tracy. Is the owner present or the owner's agent present?
The owner is not present, but I am the agent, Nicole McDowell. I'm the building designer for the proposed renovation. I'm here to answer any questions.
Do you have anything you'd wish to add to Tracy's report at this time?
I don't.
Okay, thank you. Do the committee members have any questions on the planning report? Go ahead, Councillor Dreyfus.
Just a comment with respect to parking in general for different buildings on Main Street. This problem will come up again. We have other buildings on the opposite side of the road that don't have parking, enough parking per unit. So I think it's something we're going to have to address in our planning in general. So I'm just making that as a comment. And I think this is the right approach in this situation here. I think we need to support this, what's proposed by our planner to move forward with this development. So.
Any other questions? I have one, and Planner Tracy, you did mention that the owner has another property not very far away that parking will be provided. Is that correct?
Perhaps I'll have Nicole confirm that. She might be more familiar with where exactly the location of the additional property is.
Yep, I can comment. So the additional property is 174 Curry. So there's a large parking lot in the back that actually connects to the same driveway behind 196 Curry. So it all shares the same driveway, same parking lot. Just as Tracy mentioned, there's nothing in the zoning bylaws to address allowable parking on a separate property from where the dwelling is.
Planner Tracy, is that something that could be documented on this property?
I guess the short answer through you, Mr. Chair, is no. So some municipalities do say if there's a shortfall in parking, a nearby parking area within X amount of meters can be considered in the calculation. So some municipalities do have that built into their zoning bylaw. In Dutton Dunwich case, we don't. So you have to provide parking on site, but it is a justification that you would reduce parking whenever there is nearby parking on the property owned by the owner. Now, of course, that owner may not always own that property, but it is certainly a reason why you would allow it. Other reasons would be is that you would market these units knowing that the tenants would not have parking on site. Other reasons to request relief is that you'd want to encourage people not to depend on a car and to depend on bicycle or walking. Unfortunately, we don't have transit, but that would be another reason why you would allow for a reduction in parking. So it's not uncommon for community of adjustments to allow for relief, but we've got to just make sure that it makes sense for this particular property to allow for the relief.
And municipal parking would suffice as well.
Yes, municipal parking is another good reason that if somebody did have a car and they chose to rent that space, that they would be able to park in the municipal parking lot. And sometimes you would perhaps sell a permit to make it permanent, or you would have an agreement with the municipality if there were spots that they needed to pay for in order to be able to park there.
Okay, any other questions? Does the secretary treasurer have any comments from staff?
Yes, and they're summarized in the planner's report.
Okay, and council did see the late correspondence. Does the secretary treasurer have any written submissions on this application?
Yeah, yes, and they're summarized in the planner's report, and you have been provided the additional email.
Okay. Are there any persons present who were notified of this meeting and would like to comment on the application? Okay. It's up to consideration of the committee. We just go ahead with the resolution. I think council's prepared for that.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Pemberton, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the planner titled Application for Minor Variance MV 04/24, 196 Curry Road, Ryan Vanderveen and Sasha Bailey, dated September 25th, 2024, for information, and that the Committee of Adjustment for the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich approves minor variance application MV 04/24 for property located at 196 Curry Road in accordance with the site-specific decision sheet attached to the minutes of this meeting. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay. Please be advised that the last day for appealing this decision is October 15, 2024. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the committee in respect of this application, you must submit a written request to the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich Committee of Adjustment. If you are not the applicant, you should request a copy of the decision, since it may be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal by the applicant or another member of the public. This Committee of Adjustment meeting is now concluded. Sir, please.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Dreyfus, that the meeting of the Committee of Adjustment to hear minor variance application file MV 04/24 filed by Ryan Vanderveen and Sasha Bailey closes at 5:27 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried. And moved by Pemberton, seconded by Loveland, that the regular meeting reconvenes at 5:27 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, thank you. Item B is the approved 2024 provincial planning statement, and I expect, Tracy, do you wish to speak to that?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the members of council, just to highlight some key points. So in August, the new provincial planning statement 2024 has been approved. It comes into play. It's effective October 20th, and we're just waiting for transition rules to come out on October 4th, which is going to help us understand that, you know, if we have an application that's currently in a process where it's being evaluated, does it, you know, have to go back to the beginning, or does it move forward using the old PPS, and then, you know, we will find out how that transition goes. We don't have a lot of applications that are in those stages. Most likely everything coming forward will come forward with the new 2024 PPS. Some key points that I know that council has been discussing in the past is the settlement boundary expansions. They are appealable now under the new Planning Act, but you can actually do a developer-driven application as opposed to always be a municipal comprehensive review. Now, there's still criteria that needs to be followed, so doesn't shortcut things in any way. So at the end of the day, if we don't have an inventory for like bringing on new land in a comprehensive review, most likely a developer is not going to be able to find that data justification either. So that's sort of, I don't expect that to impact Dutton Dunwich much. And we do already have some land swaps that are currently in place that will give you lots of land to develop for the next 20 or 30 years. The other key item is in rural lands like Iona Station, and Wallacestown, rural settlement is still allowable on partial services, just as long, again, there's some justification that you can still have good municipal water and private septic systems and lots are big enough. Still not a lot of development in those secondary settlement areas, but it does still allow for opportunities. Additional residential units, those ARUs, are now permitted as of right in rural areas. So we just are doing a housekeeping amendment that's going to actually match up. On a side note, the Planning Act just announced some changes this week on ARUs, where I've got to still go through it, but as a highlight, they're saying that you can't regulate ARUs in the zoning bylaw anymore. We can't regulate lot coverage or gross floor area or angular plane. So I will be back to talk to you about that. It's a moving target. And then the last one is lot creation in agricultural areas. I know that there was a lot of one-off unique situations where it did make sense to create new lots in the agricultural area, but the province has made it very clear that still it's discouraged, and there would not be any opportunities for any new vacant lots in the prime agricultural area. So that's going to stay status quo. So happy to answer any questions you might have. I will continue engaging with Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing for some training. There's some training scheduled for Friday. And and I should mention, sorry, we have 5 years to conform to the new PPS, so that everything that we do at the county and then at the lower tier is consistent. So the next step would be is the County of Elgin is going to review their newly adopted official plan and bring in some last minute modifications. And then Dutton Dunwich will have a certain period of time to update our official plan in order to match the county's OP and the PPS. So that's important that it'll be on your to-do list for the next couple of years.
Thank you for that report. Does council have any questions? I have one, Tracy. As I read it, and we talk about partial services, it talks about wastewater infrastructure on private water. Does it also apply to municipal water and private septic systems? Can it be either or?
Yes, my read is that it's either or, just as long as you have significant capacity or sufficient capacity. So you could have it on private well, but it could have municipal sewers, or it could go the other way. Most likely our situation, we have municipal water, but we don't have sewers. So we might actually start seeing some in the Dutton area come forward with development that's on municipal water, but they might try to do their own package plant, or they might do septic system, depending on if it's residential or manufacturing. So you might still see some partial services. So the guidelines is that it's appropriate if you deem it appropriate.
Okay, thank you. That opens up a few doors. Anything else from council on that one? Okay. Resolution, please, Tara.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Dreyfus, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the planner titled Approved 2024 Provincial Planning Statement dated September 25th, 2024 for information. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. And item C, a zoning bylaw amendment, ZBA 1-23 approval. It's housekeeping. Are you speaking to that, Tracy, as well?
Yes, very briefly through you, Mr. Mayor. So we've had the public meeting in July, and there were no required changes. There were no concerns. So administration has been working with other departments to just finalize it. There's just two things that I wanted to bring to your attention that has changed since the public meeting. One is that the ARUs in urban areas, the CBO felt that 50% was more appropriate than 40%, only because it was easier for her to calculate and implement. So we had made that change. It doesn't have a large impact on that. And then it had been brought to our attention that there was a mapping error, that the H hadn't been removed yet for the McDonald's property. So we've made that mapping change on Schedule B, Map 1. And then now we have a updated zoning bylaw, and we have a consolidated version as well. So after the bylaw is passed, then appeal period will be 20 days. Then we'll be able to post the new zoning bylaw and all of the maps onto our website. So council's now in a position to approve the housekeeping amendments, and administration recommends that it be approved. And then notice will appear in the newspaper in 2 weeks, and that's when the clock starts ticking for the 20-day appeal. And this will make this nice and tidy, ready for any transition to county planning services.
Okay. Questions from council? Tara, please.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Drouillard, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the planner titled Zoning Bylaw Amendment, ZBA 1/23, Approval, Housekeeping, Municipality of Dutton Dunwich, dated September 25th, 2024, for information, and that council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich approve zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 1/23 for a municipal-wide housekeeping amendment in accordance with site-specific bylaw 2024-43. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Item D is a review of parkland dedication and payment in lieu of parkland legislation and policies. I expect, Tracy, you're on that one as well.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So as council prepares for future development within the municipality, this is a good time to review parkland dedication and payment in lieu of parkland legislation and policies. And Deputy Mayor Loveland had mentioned that this would be a good time to go through our policies to make sure that they're up to date and make sure council has an opportunity to provide feedback. So what I've done is gone through all of the new legislative changes under the Planning Act, and there were a lot. So the purpose of this report was just to sort of outline what has changed, what we have currently in place, and sort of where we should go next. So there's a few new tools in the toolbox. One of the older ones is parkland dedication. So you used to be able to, or you still can take cash in lieu of parkland, 2% of industrial and commercial, and 5% for everything else, which is residential and institutional. But you have to have a bylaw in order to do that, or it has to, and it has to appear in your official plan. New to some legislation is that you can offer some reductions, very similar to development charges, and there are some exemptions. So for example, non-for-profit housing can be exempt from parkland, or ARUs can be exempt from parkland. There's other tools that are new called alternative parkland dedication rates, and that's where you can take larger developments, larger subdivisions, and you can give them a bit of a break on creating new lots. And it follows very similarly to the Development Charges Act and some of the exemptions and the freezes and the discounts that you can offer that. So that runs very well similarly. And then there's the other tool where you can actually take park land. And I think that's where council needs to really sit down and spend some time on, like, when do you take parkland? Do you take the 2% and 5% of land at all times on every subdivision? So you end up with like these little like parkettes, Or do you take the cash and build one regional park for the entire greater good? So that's a park plan that sort of you're going to need to sit down and discuss. And that is one of the requirements under the Planning Act, is that you have a park plan. In order to be, a park plan needs to be approved by council in order to be able to offer an alternative residential rate. Now, part of that is there is some public consultation. You do need to have a notice, engage your community. I was in a conference today through the Planning Association that talked about parkland planning, and it's very key to engage all demographics. You're going to want to hear from children who are school age. You want to hear from families. You want to hear from single young adults. You want to hear from seniors. So it is really a fun exercise to be able to find out what do the residents of Dutton Dunwich really want to see for parkland. And then there are other ways of determining value. It used to be the value of the undeveloped land prior to the issuance of the building permit. That's somewhat the same, but now there's like some very specific ways of determining value under the Planning Act. And again, it follows very similarly to what the development charges does. And then there are some special accounting and reporting requirements now under the Planning Act, where you have to show where all of your money collected. It has to be put into a special account, and you've got to report that to the government. So what I've done is just did a high-level review of what the municipality has. So right now, Dutton Dunwich does not have a parkland dedication or a payment in lieu bylaw in place. So that means you can't take advantage of any of the dedication discounts or offer any of the sort of the freezes. You do have in your official plan older policies that appeared in the previous Planning Act about the 2% and the 4%, and it talks about, you can take cash in lieu or you can take land. So it does give council some flexibility. There were some changes too in the Planning Act that now a developer can tell you how they want to have parkland. It used to be where this was what council had asked. Now it's kind of flipped around a bit. The town zoning bylaw does talk a little bit about the definitions of parks. It talks about public and private and recreation activities, but the zoning bylaw doesn't actually identify any future or new parks. There's currently no park plan for Dutton Dunwich, so that would be something that council is going to want to do. And then in your newly adopted DC background study, all of that information is there already, where we could build from that data that you collected in order to move forward to a parkland bylaw and a park plan exercise. A lot of the work that has been done so far has been built on using the consultant's work that has completed your DC report. So it is recommended that you continue on working with Watson and Associates and be able to have them just do more of a detailed dive. The other thing I should mention too is you do have in your town's fees and tariffs bylaw. You do have a cash in lieu of parkland for subdivisions. It's $1,500 or 5%, whichever is greater. And then at the time of severances, when you're creating a new lot or surplus farm dwellings, we can take $500. So those are sort of the only tools you have right now is what's in the OP and what's in your fees and tariffs bylaw, but they are very outdated. So the recommendation in the report would be to help support Dutton Dunwich as you continue to grow and be able to be proactive in your parkland planning. That you continue using Watson and Associates to do a more detailed assessment of what you're going to need for a bylaw, what policies need to be put in place in the official plan, if there's anything that needs to be put in your zoning bylaw, and any updates that are required in your fees and tariffs bylaw. what they'll do is they'll review the background information, they'll do a financial analysis based on the data that collected through the DC. They'll help you with that public stakeholder engagement. They've been doing this for a lot of the municipalities within the region, so they've got a really great presentation that they offer. They'll help council with your draft bylaw and final adoption of your bylaw. The amount of 14,900 is what they've estimated, and the CAO has taken that into consideration when drafting the 2025 capital budget. So this information is, or the report is just for information, but happy to have any preliminary discussions now. If not, this is sort of the path that is recommended. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you, Tracy, for that report. Does council have any questions? Do you need to require direction at this point? or-
No, we'll just bring it forward as a capital project
In
and
the
then the
budget.
council can
Okay,
decide
thank
what they
you.
want to do at that point.
No questions, Tracy. They're taking it easy on you tonight. They want to get to the farm show, or farm show, car show.
Perfect.
Thank you. Go ahead, Tara.
Moved by Drillard, seconded by Pemberton, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the planner titled Review of Parkland Dedication and Payment in lieu of Parkland Legislation and Policies dated September 25th, 2024 for information. All in favor? And that's carried.
Item 7 is the Drainage Department, and it's appoint the engineer for the Brown drain. Council wish to discuss that at all, or? It's pretty straightforward. Go ahead, Tara.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Loveland, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich appoints Spreed Associates Limited to prepare the necessary report for the Section 4 petition for the Brown Drain filed by Karen Secon, and that notice of council's decision to appoint the engineer be sent to the requester, Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority, OMAFRA, and Spreed Associates. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Correspondence. The first item is the City of Kitchener renovations. Anyone wish to comment on that? Yeah, go ahead.
Just a quick comment. I prefer not to second the motion on this. I don't agree with everything in the renovations motion. So I think there needs to be a lot of work done on this personally. Not that I'm in favor of evicting people, but I think it is restrictive. So that's my personal opinion. So.
Anyone else wish to comment on that? You have a resolution, but
Would anyone like to second that motion?
or we could just receive for information. That correspondence.
I'm fine with that, too.
I think so. I have similar reservations on it, and I agree with, kicking people out, but there are investments involved here that, people make, and their side of the story needs to be told as well. Okay.
Okay. Are you okay to second receive and file? Okay. Moved by Loveland, seconded by Dreyfus, that correspondence item 8A from the City of Kitchener be received and filed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. The Municipality of Tweed, the Canada Community Building Fund. Any comments on that one? They want more money. Yeah. Go ahead, Tara.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Drillard, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich supports the resolution from the Municipality of Tweed calling on the federal government to provide a supplement to the allocations provided to municipalities under the AMO CBBF agreement for 2024 to 2028 for the same amount that was allocated, effectively doubling the allocation for those years, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Rob Flack, MPP, Karen Vecchio, MP, and the municipality of Tweed. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Drulard, seconded by Pemberton, that relevant correspondence was reviewed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. And under consent correspondence, we have two items. Dutton Dunwich Economic Development Committee September newsletter. Anyone wish to comment on that one? It's very well done, as usual. I'll make that comment. Whoever does it, please thank them. And the County of Elgin Council highlights from September 10th. Okay, Sarah.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Loveland, that the items on the consent agenda be approved. All in favor? And that's carried.
We have other staff reports, the MECP Dutton Dunwich Distribution System Inspection Report. I think this is Tim Swan's song. I wish he was here, but he's not. But we could send him an email anyway. Report received. Thank you very much.
Yeah, make sure you send him the resolution. Comes received.
I guess we come to expect that from Tim, so go ahead, Tara.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Dreyfus, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the final report from the MECP inspection covering the period from June 1st, 2023 to May 31st, 2024 for their review and information. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, unfinished business, the Integrity Commissioner and Closed Meeting Investigator Agreement Extension. And I believe, Tara, you have a verbal on that.
Yes, so in speaking with John Mascarin, our Integrity Commissioner and closed meeting investigator, about extending this agreement, we did notice that the date comes up right during the election period. So if we're a lame duck, then it makes it hard to make a new agreement. So we're just looking to get the authorization to make the extension of that agreement until May 31st, 2027, just to add a few months on there for us.
Makes sense?
Yep.
All right, moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Drulard, whereas the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich approved the 2-year extension of agreement for Integrity Commissioner and Closed Meeting Investigator Services. And whereas the extension runs into the 2026 council election period, now therefore council authorizes the clerk to execute the extension agreement for a period until May 31st, 2027. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. We also have CAO Treasurer's update and verbal on wastewater.
So on Monday, Dylan came and spoke with Mayor Henson, Deputy Mayor Loveland, and kind of gave us an update on where we're at. And since they've started looking at our existing problems, they've realized that the flows that were used for the wastewater treatment plant expansion were too low because they were using flows as they trickled in because everything was backed up. So with everything being fixed, they realized that it's going to flow in faster. So we are extremely over capacity at the plant, more than we thought. So according to them. So anyways, I had a meeting with the ministry today because we wanted to make sure we didn't have to start all over with the EA. And they're okay with just changing the technical because everything else is kind of going to be the same. They would like us to reach out to Indigenous groups and public just to, if the flows are changing that much, that just to be on the safe side. They had concerns about our effluent and the receiver already. So now they're a little more concerned again. So they would like, the fisheries and things to be looked at again. They will not allow us to change the force main and the pumping station until we get the upgrade done. They're just saying all we're going to do is push the problem to become an environmental issue because things are actually going to get to the plant in the timely fashion they're supposed to, which is going to cause a environmental issue, which means, and this came from the ministry's mouth, not mine, individual council will be sued or could be fined because we've created an environment issue. So now they want every overflow at pump station 1 reported. So, and then they want continuous updates on where we're at. Dylan was hoping there would be some kind of emergency fund we could use, but they don't know of any. So we'll go forward with our second round of this enabling housing and hope it gets us to where we need to be. But at this point, Dylan's kind of coming up with some solutions. Like the ministry did mention having sewage trucked out if we had to. But I mean, I think we're going to be like, it's going to be the same as it was unless we have a big rain and we start flooding. But, you know, the ministry said that we're better off with this, you know, the political hand slapping when it comes up in people's basements and they can't flush their toilet stuff, as opposed to an environmental issue if we overflow. I think that was, yeah. So, yeah, I wasn't happy that they said they won't allow us to fix the force main or the pump station at this point, because that's where our problem is. But then they say they're going to cause another problem. So we are working on something. Hopefully this grant will come through. But other than that, yeah, we're kind of in a pickle. You know, the ministry won't say do not add anymore. They said we don't have that authority, but you know, it's probably something we got to be very cognizant of adding more. So, is there anything else that you guys took away from our meeting with Dylan? I mean, this is more than what I got from the ministry today, so it's more like.
Just make a quick comment, and you know, I've had trouble getting my head around this, but I think once I got a little more information from Archie, I understand it a little better. So last month, which was probably a more average month than neither that dry or that wet, we did operate at 88%. But I think the important thing to realize is our pumps for that month ran 190 hours, which means they're running over 6 hours a day in the average day. So that kind of puts it all into perspective for me when you understand that. It's
Yeah, I was kind of like you. I'm like, okay, well, if it's just getting there slowly, it's getting there. But then when Archie said, you take the risk of it becoming septic if it doesn't flow, and then he said that will wreck his equipment. And so, yeah, to me too, I was more like, okay, well, it just gets there slower, but like you're kind of using it as an underground holding system, I guess. And then it could be, then you got more problems if something septic comes up in somebody's basement kind of thing. So that, yeah, Archie helped me understand that a little better too. So.
The ministry would rather this council deal with backups in basements than pushing it to the plant that can't handle it. That's their position. So folks, that's this position this council's in. We're going to go ahead with the funding, and I want to speak to that a little bit because a week ago Wednesday, I attended the announcement at Southold over Pemberton. You were there, and their application was very similar to ours in the amount of money. The ask was close. Southold had in their proposal 2,300 houses. We had 1,153. That's the issue right there. And I had a meeting organized by Rob Flack with Minister Surma, and she gave me all the time I needed to pitch our case. And it's a problem that they recognize. She said, you're like Northern Ontario. They were shut out of all of the money on this round. And it's basically numbers. They took this money. How many houses can we build with this amount of money? So there was a level there, and whether Southold was on that lower scale, I expect maybe they were, because we're competing with London, who got money. They're going to build 17,500 units. or these bigger centers. So the ministry has recognized this problem and they're going to address it. And this is from the minister in this second round. They're going to look at the smaller municipalities that don't have the scale, but their need is just as great. So I came away from that quite confident that our message has been received. She went as far as giving her chief of staff to reach out at any time during this process on what we can do to make our application beneficial. So I'm more positive now than I was the first round. But anyway, it was a great meeting and I think it will help us. Go ahead, Councillor Drouillard.
In light of the information we received today and in light of that information that you just gave us, that you have a number that you can reach out to anytime, with the urgency of the situation where like we are now, even our urgency has even increased, and I'm wondering if you have that access, is it a good time to use it, or are we shooting ourselves in the foot? Because we are now in a situation where we need to act and we need their support.
My thoughts, no, we're not shooting ourselves in the foot. It's a dire situation and the more people that know that, the better, in my opinion. And it goes back to where we've been at the start of the year. It's a dire situation. And Rob Flack said the same. Tell them everything you got. Tell them the problems you got. And we're going to do that. We've already done that with the ministry.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and I guess I just, Mayor has touched on it. You know, I think our ask at the 27 million that Southwold asked for or whatever, and the creating 1,153 homes, I don't think that number changes asking for 11 million. We're still if the analogy that was given to me is unless you knock the first domino over, you won't ever knock the last domino over. So yes, even though we're only asking for 11 million, we're still going to be creating that 1,153 homes eventually. It may not be with this, but I don't think our number of homes changes with this application. And I think that strengthens our application even more. And I think the other thing that we need to look at and consider in strengthening our application is having a plan to do this, whether we get the funding or not. And we have to come up with a way, because Southwold had that. They had a plan of how are we going to do this, whether we get this funding or not. And I don't know how that is. I really don't. And I wish you the best of luck. But, you know, if there's a way to kind of figure it out, whether we get the funding or not, I think we have to, because we have to do it whether we get the funding or not. So I don't know what the best approach is, but.
So, yeah, so and it turns out that the phase one that Brom was talking about the whole time was actually just to get us to a point where we can actually, our current users can use the wastewater treatment plant. That doesn't even add any houses. So, because we're that over capacity that nobody realized because of this bottleneck. I think I'm saying that right anyways. Yeah, so we are gonna go in asking for almost the same, but we're going in with like 503. I don't know what to put for houses, but I think they were thinking that that would get us 500 houses or something if we do this. But
I think you still
No,
well, we can,
we're
but
going in with the 1,153 houses in this application because that's the developable land we got.
right,
And if we get the money, then we got to figure out how we get to phase two.
right.
get to phase two without phase one.
Yeah, and we're in a catch-22 here.
Mhm.
Unless we get some help, we're stuck. We can't do a thing. We can't borrow that kind of money.
No. Well, we can, but it's like, what would the user charge be monthly for somebody to use the sewer system? Like, it's just, we just can't put that on our users. Like, it would be, like, what would your monthly bill be? It would be like, it'd be ridiculous. So, yeah, anyways.
Is there other options, sorry, through Mayor Hens, is there other options out there? I've heard talk about companies out there that are willing to come in, basically build you a wastewater treatment plant they charge you amount for running it for so many years before you assume it. Have we explored these options and, you know, can we still explore these options to see?
Yep.
Like maybe we do the repairs to this plant to get it functioning at capacity now. And future development, we have to look at doing a separate wastewater treatment plant and have options like that looked at, because we don't have the funding.
Yeah, I've already had a company come out and look and go through our system and they're ready. They're just waiting for us to, like, you know, if the funding doesn't come through, we can hire them, or they're willing to take it on, but, so we do have that option. But
I would say we should ask for a proposal from them. And so if we don't, yeah, I would rather continue to own our plant and run our plant and keep our user fees where we want them. Because I think that's part of the problem with having somebody else run it, that they then dictate what the fees would be. And I don't think we want that, but
well, with these guys, we still do the billing. We still set the rates,
Yeah.
but we have to build in their monthly repayment thing or whatever, right? So it's,
yeah.
it wouldn't be outrageous. It wouldn't be like like borrowing
I think
30
that's something,
million,
I
which we
think
don't have
that's
the
something we should
capacity
look
to
at.
do. So, we do have them. We had meetings with them.
Numerous meetings with them.
So just, like we had them almost ready, like we were going to have them come to talk to council, but then this naming housing come out. So I talked to them and said, we're gonna go and try and get it. And then, so they are available. I think Lisa also talked to them. So, I mean, that option is definitely there.
So in this next round,
It doesn't matter.
sorry,
Okay, I guess just so everybody's clear, so we still have Dylan's working away on redesigning our force main and our pumping station. And I guess my question is, should we continue on with the plant as well and get some of that engineering done? If, you know, the more ready we are, the more I think our chances of getting funding are enhanced, so.
Well, yeah, because I went into that because we scored very high on our readiness, health and safety. And what was the other thing? Can't remember. Anyways, doesn't matter. But now that's why I mentioned it to in the ministry meeting today, is like, do I still have an EA? Because I need to go into this application saying we're ready to go, because that's the thing, right? You need to be ready. So they think we're okay. We can get this EA. It's still there. So we can certainly have, once Dylan gives the ministry the new layout or the flows and everything, and because they don't think the design's going to change much. So I think we can actually get started on, I think we should get starting on the engineering and the and just be ready. Like, because even if we have it ready, whoever, if that company took it over, they would probably just take the design and run with it, right? So I think that's a great idea.
And it's EPCOR,
Yeah.
City of Edmonton owns that business. We've had numerous conversations and it was interesting. I rode the train to Amo in Ottawa and he's a neighbor of your son's in Talbotville. He does the water system in Elmer. So there's an EPCOR people in town and we had a chat and they would at any time entertain that conversation again. Now, EPCOR, if you look at the history, they do $200 million facilities. This is pretty small for them. Not that they wouldn't do it, but it's not in the scale that they normally do.
through you, I know for a fact in the conversations we had with them that they're looking to expand in Ontario and they're looking for that door to open. And I think we presented that opportunity with the best opportunity in our conversations that I remember anyway. So I'm with Councillor Pemberton. We've got to push this envelope on both ends a little bit, or otherwise I'm afraid that this is going to be delayed. And just so I'm clear, what is the ask in the second round? Like, are we asking for 1,100 homes, or what is the dollar value that we're actually talking about here?
Well, I think we're up to 20 million. We're just gonna go with phase one. we were up to 20 million because we were gonna go with the phase one and the force main and that, but it sounds like it could be even more. So I think we just put the total amount of houses, whether we do them or not, and then just get what we can, right? So I'll get numbers from Dylan when they're done, but I just worry that they're gonna want proof of these houses and they're gonna want timelines, right? Are they? So
Well,
that's where
yeah.
I get a little worried about what if we don't do it?
I guess my concern is that how much has their thinking changed in the granting of the funding? Because the numbers are like they had $970 million allocated in the last round of funding, and $2.1 billion came in applications. Well, what makes us think that it's going to change? Like it's just going to, this whole thing, and we're doing 480 million in the next round. Like it's cut in half, right? So I don't know what the answer is here, but I would still push the bar in houses and capacity, and hopefully the alternative, I mean, I don't like the alternative as much because we're paying higher interest, but at the end of the day, it might be our only solution to move forward. So
I was assured by the minister that they recognized the problem. Virtually every small municipality was shut out of this first round because the only criteria was how many houses can we build for how many dollars? And we were below that line that, yeah, 2.1 billion was the ask and $870 million available. So they drew a line somewhere, and that's what happened. And we got caught on the outside, like every other small municipality got caught on that because the scale isn't there. But they know that now. So I feel confident, but we can go ahead with EPCOR. And even if they're building and money comes in, I mean, we can still use the money. They have said that.
yes, that's right.
So we'll keep everybody in the loop. We're going to apply again, and we're going to stay in touch with the ministry or the minister. And they've agreed to help us with the
I've been
application.
told I have to. I don't even have a choice.
Okay, is there anything on that or just a verbal update? Okay. And we have a update on the doctor's agreement, and Terry, you have that one?
So this week we received correspondence from the doctors that they need until November to read over the agreement that was supplied to them. Our negotiations team, we are going to propose that we keep the October 1st date, but whenever we end up signing with them, it becomes retroactive. So for easy numbers, let's say their rent is $1,000. Right now, they can keep paying that, but then once we sign and their rent was to go up $500, they're gonna pay the difference for that. Dr. Sharman is going on vacation in October, and they need time for their third-party consultant to review the agreement. I don't know if Corey or Ken would like to add anything extra.
I just don't want this to be just an extension to save them a little money, so I'd rather have them sign it and get on with life, but I guess if they need a bit more time, as long as it's retroactive, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, and I agree with Deputy Mayor Loveland to say that this was a little frustrating hearing this today because it was a big push for the September 1st when they thought it was then, and we had to have the meeting right away. And so we did, and then we came to terms and thought that this would move along fairly quickly. It's a little frustrating to say the least. But I think that's a good resolution compromise, whatever you want to say that, okay, fine, if you can't get it signed till November 3rd, don't, but know that it's going to be backdated to the October 1st date, and you will owe whatever from that date moving forward.
I think we've seen this movie before. And
Living it for 3.5 years.
yeah, I think they're playing us, and I don't care we're in a public meeting, they are. I would rather see I wouldn't be prepared to sign an extension unless the number they gave us was 10%. That starts on October 1st. They can read the rest of it till the cows come home. But we expect something out of this. We're not going to keep pushing this down the road, and then there'll be something else. And then not only that, if we delay it, we've got a CPI increase coming the first of the year. What happens to that? Does that get thrown out the window? So I would suggest that we respond with, we will extend the contract, but we want that rent starting October 1st. That's where I'm at on this.
I would support that.
I was gonna say, I think
Yeah,
that's basically,
what
basically that's what we're saying, just in different ways, that whatever you do, if you don't sign the agreement till November 3rd, we don't care. You're paying from October 1st. Whenever you sign, this agreement is backdated to October 1st, and you will pay from October 1st on. We're not accepting any further delays in increasing to what we're agreeing to. So I think we're saying the same thing, just in different ways.
Okay.
yeah,
Dr. Sharman is not leaving until next week. Is that correct, Tara?
October 9th.
October 9th. So lots of time for us out of consensus around here to respond tomorrow morning with exactly that. And there should be no further delay on that.
Well, and I think we also need to say that after it's been reviewed, there's no further pushing it down the road, because we're not going to get in that pattern of catch up, because there is an increase coming in January. So I'm okay to extend, but it needs to be retroactive to October 1st. And no further. Like, okay, you need somebody to review it, but I also feel that there's been some time that they could have had that done. So I'm not in the super charitable mood to continue this down the road. So it needs to be clear that it's retroactive to October 1st.
Councilor Dreyfus, you haven't.
The only comment I'm just gonna make, like, where did this third party all of a sudden come from? I'm struggling with that, and I'm really grumpy tonight, so I'm not even in the mood to extend it, to be honest with you. I'm at that point. Like, we have 9 days. They can get a lawyer. Any lawyer will look at it, have a look at it. Yes, it's a good agreement or a poor, or come back with amendments. What happens if they come back with amendments in November 1st? That's the question. So that's my opinion.
I've been done months ago. Because this is you go on and on. We need to draw a line in the sand here. We have a responsibility to the taxpayer of Dutton Dunwich. Where do we take it?
So is the suggestion that we reach out to them tomorrow, tell them that, because I just want to be clear, tell them that there's more than 9 days, actually, maybe 9 business days between now and the time that Dr. Sharman, we're insisting that they have it reviewed and returned to us. Is that what we're asking for? Because no matter what happens, October 1st is the day that they start paying the increase.
Just so council's aware too, I leave and I'm not available after Wednesday. So that was part of the issue too, that I'm not available. I have no problem being replaced at this time, because I don't think, from the sounds of it, there's some consensus that we're done with the negotiation. It's either sign this or we're done, and I'm okay with sign this or we're done. So to make my point clear, my thought is we do exactly that. We tell them, look, You can take as long as you want to sign it. It's retroactive to October 1st. We want it signed now. But if you don't do it till November 3rd, we don't care. You will be being charged at the new rate, and just tell them that. And if you don't like it, well then tough.
Because I would like to, even if we do extend it, an addendum to that stating this, that as of October 1st, the new rent is being applied. At the very least.
And not make it retroactive, just say,
Yeah.
we're,
It will be applied.
this is applied as of today. And then wherever it goes, yeah. I think that's what you were trying to say before,
Yeah.
right? When
Yeah.
we were all saying the same thing. I think that's what you're trying to say.
I would agree with that. If that's what everybody else is agreeing with, that as of October 1st, their rent is increased, whether an agreement is signed or not. When you get to sign the agreement, you sign the agreement.
And I think at this point, it's to staff now. They'll respond tomorrow to them. I think we're done the negotiating, so
Yeah.
Councillor Pemberton, I think your job's done.
And I think encouraging them to get in touch with somebody and get it reviewed so that it's signed on like pretty much immediately. Because I'm just that this third party reviewer, and it's not like this, they haven't known this is sitting here and they haven't had it for quite some time. So it's a little frustrating, and I'm sure it's frustrating for the people who have spent the time negotiating, that in the last, at the last hour before the bell tolls that, oh, we also need somebody else to review it. So I think we need to take a bit of a hard line on it.
I think there's consensus, and staff, you have a direction. Okay, thank you. Okay, we have one other item on unfinished business, and that is a shared planning resolution that we discussed at last council meeting. Clerk Terry, do you have something in place?
So I moved by Drouillard, seconded by Pemberton, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich approves in principle the proposed shared planning services by the County of Elgin as set out in the Elgin County Centralized Planning Services Report prepared by Matt Bond, Director of Planning and Development, dated September 10th, 2024. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Okay, just figure we're all done on the unfinished business. Tara, I didn't miss anything. Okay. New business, and it is West Elgin Community Center Board. Deputy Mayor Loveland, you have a report.
Okay, everyone has a copy of the report. I guess we, at the arena board, kind of agreed that West Elgin will go ahead and make an application under the new recreation grant that has to be in by the end of October. It's for 50% funding. And the one thing we're not sure about is, since we're involved in this, if it really affects us, our ability to apply for something else under their grant. I don't know if that's an issue we have.
Trying to find out.
Yeah. So I guess the share of the grant would be 50%. So we would use the craft money for a portion of the 2 million share. I did the calculation roughly on since I put in 150, what our contribution should be according to the agreement, if that was put through as part of the arena proposal. I calculated it to be 104,000 roughly. We have now put, I think last year, 25,000 in reserves. So I guess I'm recommending that we go ahead and say that, yes, we will contribute 104,000. I would suggest that it may be 25,000 a year for the next 4 years, but we don't need to give it all to them right now and have it sit in a reserve just to make sense. So there's still a little money coming in as we speak. I think minor hockey probably have another 10 or 12,000 as the profit from all the craft hockeyville sales that they're going to contribute. And I think there's some other donations that'll be there. So I guess that would be my recommendation, that we give them a letter of support and that we in paper say to them that we're going to contribute our 104,000 and leave it at that. And I guess the other issue is the representative from minor hockey has resigned. I think it's to do with work. And so we need to appoint a new person. And they've made a recommendation that Jessica Small fill that position. So I'd also like to on a resolution support that as well. So if there's any questions, I'll try to make up an answer for you.
Anybody question?
I just, I respect the work you've done here, Deputy Mayor Loveland. The only concern I do have is the grant application, because I know we are in need of funding. And I know I was speaking with Charlotte, we're looking at pool work and then we also had a letter from a community member about our playground this week. And so there's things that are on the table that definitely need to be dealt with over time. So I'm concerned that as long as we don't impact that opportunity for us in Dutton Dunwich, I'm fully supportive of moving forward with supporting the arena. As long as it's within our agreement all around, and you figured all that out. So I think we're fine that way. So
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I've got Jeff Carswell's working on the application for them, and he's back in the office in West Lauren tomorrow, so he's going to call me. Because we don't want to reach out and ask them, because that might just open up a can of worms. So we're waiting to see if he even has to put our name on it, and then we'll go from there. Because if we don't even have to be mentioned, then, or it might not be a problem. We'll figure it out somehow. But
yeah, I think the grant application, as I read it, it would want to see a copy of our agreement and a copy of a letter of support from us. So I don't think we can not do that. But nonetheless, that's what happens, I guess.
The arena upgrades, they don't have a budget for that yet, or they're not there yet. Is that correct?
They don't have a budget yet. They're guessing it's going to be probably somewhere between 1 million and 1.2 million. But streets are working on that as we speak. If it's 1.2 million, then I think the majority of it will be covered by the money we have now.
My concern is, I think the formula is they're the first 20% of capital, and then we split the rest.
Yeah.
So if they get into a project that runs way over budget, are they going to have their hand out to Dutton Dunwich to pony up?
Well, that's that agreement is written that way, so we would have to pay our share. I guess, but as councils, we still have the right to approve that capital item, so yeah, that would be our control, I would think.
Good point, because we have run into that before. They wanted to pave a parking lot, and we said no to that. So as long as we have some say in this process, because I don't want to give them $104,000 and say, oh gee, we went over budget and we need another 104,000.
I guess the other thing I neglected to say, they have put the $250,000 from Kraft Hockeyville and their 150 into a reserve fund. So they are getting some interest on that. Something to keep in mind for the water system if they haven't already done that. Yeah.
Okay. Everybody had their say on that one? Clerk Tara, please. Is there any resolution on that one?
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Loveland, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the deputy mayor titled West Elgin Community Center Board dated September 21st, 2024 for information, and that council accepts the recommendation from the West Lauren Minor Hockey that Jessica Small be appointed as the minor hockey representative to sit on the West Elgin Community Center Board of Management, and that council authorizes staff to send a letter of support to the municipality of West Elgin in regard to their application for the improvement to the Bo Horvath Community Center under the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund. And further that council approve a contribution to the project of $104,000 in accordance with the operation agreement. All in favor? And that's carried.
Are there any announcements? It's not really an announcement, but I think we all received correspondence about McDonald's grand opening on the 8th,
Yes.
October 8th.
Actually, they reached out today in an email, so
Yes.
he did respond to me and asking when the best time for the ribbon cutting, which would be the 8th of October, morning or afternoon or whenever.
Okay.
Whenever, and I said, well, I would discuss it with
Well,
you today.
let's see what works. I have a county council meeting that morning, but I could make noon, I think, or a little later. So how's everyone else on that?
When's your lunch? Sorry, I was gonna check with Amaryllis to see when her lunch was.
I can probably swing like,
12:30?
yeah, I can probably swing noonish because the
Okay.
kids' lunch is over. And actually, my lunch kind of comes in that in that time frame. So I can usually work with my colleagues and kind of work some things out to do that.
Okay.
So.
Just on that note, I did email Ben and I were emailing last night. Because I was asking about time because Jeff would also like council to go to the fire hall at 7 o'clock on the 8th. For the unveiling of the new truck. So that works out. So, because he was worried that they were gonna want you down there in the evening and you couldn't go to the fire hall, so.
Either way, unfortunately.
Yeah, you won't be around. So I will tell Ben noonish then okay.
I said we would respond.
Yep, okay, yeah, perfect.
Okay. We have some bylaws.
Yeah, Phoenix Life, yeah.
We have the Ontario Trillium Fund Agreement for the baseball dugouts and backstop Diamond 2.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Dreyfus, that bylaw 2024-42 being a bylaw to authorize execution of the agreement with the Ontario Trillium Fund for the replacement of backstop and dugouts be read a first, second, and third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. And the next bylaw is a housekeeping bylaw.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Drulard, that bylaw 2024-43 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2022-50 be read a first, second, and third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
And to confirm proceedings. Tara, please.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Pemberton, that bylaw 2024-44 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the municipal council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich be read a first, second, and third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, we see the future meetings, and is there anything else before we adjourn? Okay, Tara, please.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Loveland, that the meeting of the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich closes at 6:33 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, yes.
He's already gone to the car show. Where are you going? No. Where
Are you heading back to South?
I don't know if I can. I don't think I just sent a text to see where they're.
Okay.